Good afternoon, everyone. I hope this broadcast finds you well. I don't usually do this a lot, so let me first start by saying I am greeting everyone the same, no matter your background or your beliefs, where you come from. Um, and this video is intended to basically share my feelings on some subject matters that have been, needless to say, spreading in the news. So, with that being said, I just want to say my name is Disarray Rogers. I am a teacher from Los Angeles, and I just want to share some thoughts on how I'm feeling. Um, generally speaking, with the urgency and matters of the law and police brutality. Um, and Obviously, there's a lot going on right now, no matter where you come from. I mentioned myself and where I come from, but you don't have to be in any, I guess, isolated situation to say, um, or to really see what's going on. It's in the air. It's the ethos. It's the feeling of the matter. And I guess that's probably why I want to do this video, because I'm seeing a lack of urgency, to be quite frank, a lack of accountability on these matters. Um, and here I am, just a music teacher, coach, and just guy who wants to do the good thing. Young guy out here trying to make positive stand on matters that coming out of school and rationalizing the world for what it is. I didn't think that I would have to ever do a video like this, to be quite frank. I didn't think that I would have to basically spread my wings in uncharted territories that I didn't really want to be in the first place, outside of the schools, of course, because I've always wanted to be a teacher. But even without that aspect or direction that I had in my life, I would have come to this revelation that something has to be done. Somebody has to speak up. And that has been ongoing ever since I've had the mind state to take charge and, as I said, be accountable and be responsible for what's going on. Not just in my world, I guess, as a young African American male, but at the world at large. My hometown, Los Angeles, traveling through California. So it comes a time where the threshold is met, and you can only take so much. I don't know how else to say it. But obviously, as you can tell by the tone of which I'm starting this, and I did have some specific thoughts on finding peace, harmony, and love in the times of disarray. Because I'm a music teacher, and when times get rough, I find that music and the arts and being creative always create a kind of portal to the relief out of any isolated state that one may be in. That's where I got. That's how I got to where I got. Being a teacher, being a coach, keeping that focus, that discipline, but also just a good, healthy balance, and what keeps you. No, I guess basically knowing, your trigger points and knowing yourself, knowing what will keep you going, knowing what will keep you motivated. And just for the record, this is a freestyle video. I think I mentioned that, but I just want to reiterate that I'm not necessarily lecturing anything specific. I just want to really just express how I'm feeling. And I guess that's how I'm getting to this point right now. And this is usually my workout time, you know, where I just take some time out, shoot some hoops, little tennis, work on my soccer coaching skills. Um, but I felt that I had to do this. I had to make this video. I had to share my feelings and thoughts um, on the matter in recent shooting. Um, One could even say in the investigation that will be, planned out, murder of the young Jalen Walker of Ohio, shot 60 times, according to the reports, by law enforcement as he was running away. And it's not my field. I'm not a law enforcement official. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an investigator by any means. What I am a teacher, and I am an African American male. But as I said in the beginning, and the tenure of this video, you don't have to be me or from some urban city to understand the overall ethos and feeling that is being felt right now. Because this is ongoing. This is an ongoing situation of brutality, of a lack of humanity. And so, I didn't think that I was going to do this video, but I definitely was thinking about this a lot last night. I mean, at length. I'm a little tired. You probably see it on my face. I was reading. I have a lot of experience in the matters of public affairs in various different capacities. I got this book when I was in ROTC, which I'm not going to talk about that because I really didn't like that experience too much. But, I learned a lot, and the discipline that stayed with me is not for any specific purpose per se, but it's for me. It's to uphold me, Disarray Rogers, and the stature I want to maintain. And the reason why I came to this book, in light of this situation, is because I immediately connected the dot of self-liberty and what it means to have overcome in trials and times of tribulation, specifically when those that look like me didn't have any rights on this country, on this land, on this soil. Even if you were naturalized here, there was just this kind of block and blindness to the race relations prior to the Civil War. One would even say still to this day, we're not on the verge of a civil war, but the feeling has still been consistent. And we can go through various artifacts, research books, video, documentaries, et cetera, to come to that realization. And in the wave of police brutality that has been persistent since, I I want to say 2010, 2012, after the Trayvon Martin incident, which in itself wasn't an isolated issue of a police officer, using excessive force or being brutal, but the connection is still there because the perpetrator, and I guess we'll say vigilante, used the law to back up his cause, to attack Trayvon Martin, a boy, with no due cause. And as I said, I'm not here to lecture, but weighing out all of these aspects of what it means to be a person of color in this country, I have to go back to the foundation and recognize that there were people who fought. There were sacrifices that were made. There were laws that were made. And there was probably something I missed when I was in ROTC, on this aspect of men of color serving in the Union Army, because I was completely unaware that they were called volunteers. Volunteers, not soldiers. They had an infantry, of course, and they were trained like everyone else, but it says it right here, 1861. Union volunteers in camp. And there were so many riots that occurred, and these soldiers that fought for this country were subject to the same racism and discrimination and just lack of benefit of the doubt that we still see today. Of course, the Emancipation Proclamation resolved these matters of immediate secession of the country's slave-holding states, if you will. But segregation was probably at its highest point at that time, including in the military, including with those soldiers that fought and died for this country. And it like I said, it had me up all night thinking, and I'm not going to go back to the specific paragraph that details this aspect of African American soldiers and fighting and serving and the subjugation that they still endure. It's because it speaks for itself. And these acts and isolated instances of brutality and lack of understanding are still persistent. So I guess I'll show you a picture of what I'm seeing right here. It says it right there, Union volunteers or Union camp volunteers. But prior to that, it details how they recruited these soldiers, from I guess border states, usually a lot of them from slave states, slave-holding states that targeted. They specifically targeted Confederate soldiers, Black Confederate soldiers, and to get them to join the Union Army, but basically without a benefit. And there were also, it goes into other plans that never really went out, fully and the benefit and be guest of these gentlemen, these soldiers fighting for this country. A well-managed federal authority was needed to assume the state's obligations to train volunteer units in the use of their tools of war, and then to deploy them along a vast continental front. By exploiting the railroad, steamship, and telegraph, the War Department provided field commanders a novel type of mobility in their operations. So, that's basically what I'm saying. And I guess I'm thinking about the specific plan that were to get these soldiers compensated. But, you read it right there, it never fell through, basically. And, one would argue that what we're seeing now in the media and with these ongoing persistent shootings and police brutality is breaking down of the paramilitary forces that are designed to uphold law and order in this country on a bureaucratic level. Because I'm not an expert in war, and I don't mean to come off as I said, lecturing, or as if I'm some grand expert in these relations. But I definitely don't plan on keeping this video too long. But I knew I would have to get some points out and connect some dots, and to share them with the audience that I do have, and saying that this is it should be urgent. It should be antennas going up, that every uprising, every war, every ideological change going on in this country is on the backs of young black men. Every battle, mental subjugation, if you will, is our burden. And I don't think that's right. So, and Jayland Walker is not an isolated event, by the way. That's part of the reason why I was up all night, We got Daniel Hambrick was running away in Tennessee from the police, shot in the back. Ryan Twyman, California. Stephen Clark, California. We're talking multiple shots, rounds, hailing on these young men. Because they didn't understand the threat? Or is it because this is systemic to our problem in this country, and finding peace, harmony, and love's just due in times of disarray? But I didn't stop there. I realized that this is a bigger global international issue. And by the way, I'm just a music teacher. I'm not, as I said, a expert on race matters. I do have a mediator certificate, where I had to study quite a bit on the international, platform and field, or studying how parties can meet and come to some resolve or mediation or peace agreement, if you will. But I'll be honest, there's really not much that I can say about this situation, other than from the point of, really, really held beliefs and just furious antagonism to the situation that, as I said, has been ongoing and persistent, and the judging of character and jumping to conclusion with the use of police force and brutality. Um, but I'll wrap it up and say that I probably won't shy away from being vocal about my feelings and what I'm observing in the media and how I feel as a teacher. I have to communicate these issues and go about my regular duties with good faith as an educator to the youth. 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. That's usually the age demographic that I'm teaching. Um, but as I said, this video was intended to just share how I'm feeling. I'm a music teacher. I teach art. I also coach. And sometimes it's not often, but these kind of discussions or uh, I might get insinuated a question from a student based on, I guess, something that they're seeing in the media or some revelation that they may have or pondering that they may be inquisitive about. Um, but as I said, and I was, I don't mean to bang this drum, but this is just how I'm feeling. Uh, when I think about the patriotism in this country versus the progressive state that I observe these students want to have, and the actions that are being taken on a range of issues, from gun violence to abortion to healthcare to the environment to religion. It's important. I'm looking at some of my favorite songs, some of the most patriotic songs. One of them is "This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is My Land," from California to the New York Island. I love it, and I'm happy to say that, but I'm upset to also recognize that those words and those ideals aren't being lived as well as they should. And we have to do better. We have to be, as I said in the beginning, much more urgent, much more accountable